1, belief and acceptance. 2, determination. 3, passion. 4, grind and hard work. 5, strategies and goals. 6, drive and single-mindedness. 7, place no boundaries on what you can achieve. I'm Leigh Woodgate, and these are my 7 steps to overcoming any adversity. They've worked for me, and with application and hard work, they can work for you too. 1, belief and acceptance. Believing in yourself and never giving up is what I had to do 23 years ago, what I need to do every day of my life. I've always been positive, but I could easily have turned bitter when everything turned to shit. It's what I've seen other injured jockeys do, and it's a recipe for disaster. On the 1st of July 1994, I was riding in a steeplechase. My horse knuckled, and I fell off after the second last fence. Virtually every other horse in the field trampled me. Nearly every bone in my body was broken. Both lungs were punctured, my brain started to bleed, and I lay in a coma for 17 days. I had nothing to work with. Darkness pressed down upon me and I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. Eventually, my will kicked in. And where does your will come from? It comes from every cell of being, every remembering cell, every ounce of you. Wired up to machines and unable to move, people doubted my ability to survive. Those same people would make me doubt my own thoughts and drive. So I slowly learned to take a breath and start my recovery. The one person never to doubt me was my mum, who was instrumental to my recovery and the mainstay to my efforts to regain my independence. I'd gone from a fully functioning human being to a damaged baby, relearning every step a child must take, from breathing to making sounds and words and learning to walk. How could these things be so hard? I'd done them all before without effort. Now every small thing was like a mountain to be climbed. I was told by people who didn't want to see me fail not to even try. Because I'd always been successful, nobody thought I could handle not succeeding. As far as they were concerned, I'd be a non-functioning person for the rest of my life. And I can tell you right now, I was never going to let that happen. I always thought I'm going to be the very best I can be. How lucky was I to have part of my brain function and be able to think and plan each and every step back to my life, the one that I wanted and aspired to. You can see challenges as a negative, something that holds you back, or you can see them as opportunities to go forward. Not many people have the opportunity to have everything taken from them. I truly believe I am lucky, not because I survived, but because I've experienced the most amazing challenge. Everyone has challenges, and I think no one's challenges are really greater or less than anyone else's. It's how we tackle our challenges. That's what differentiates us. I want everyone to take one moment now or on your way home to think about how you handle the challenges in your life and what you might do differently. If you do that, I feel as though I've succeeded tonight. Our second step is determination. Now it was down to my stubborn pig-headedness and single-minded determination to find the right people and succession of therapies that would help me achieve my goal of independence. Deep down in the core of my being, I knew I was going to have to give my second chance at life everything I had. Improving everything about my broken self was where I was headed. I needed to be mentally strong. For 4 years, I was locked into a health system, predestined to place boundaries on someone with my extensive range of injuries. Apparently, I was supposed to live in a wheelchair and a halfway house, hardly the independent living to which I aspired. My family was extremely tough on me. "Look at you, Leigh, you can't even speak properly," they'd say. So I'd stay up till 2 a.m. practicing my speech out loud, talking into a tape recorder, and then replaying it. I wanted to make Dad proud, and when he was dying, he said, "Leigh, you learned how to speak too bloody well." And that made me feel like I'd achieved my first goal. I found that when I couldn't speak properly, nobody took me seriously, and that was not acceptable at all. My next focus was on getting out of the wheelchair. Mum, as always, was on side, and she wasn't having any of those boundaries placed on me either. She took care of me, got me to therapy on time, and if I thought the therapy was pointless, she'd make me explain why. She got me to think right from the word go. Luckily, a gym membership was organised for my social well-being, and that was to become central, along with a range of therapies, to my movement development. I had strong arms and I'd had heaps of falls off horses, so I had taught myself to stand and then walk by dragging myself upright and standing for just 1 minute, then 2 minutes at a time, until eventually I could stay vertical for an hour without holding on to anything. And then I was taking steps, 2, then 10, then from a chair to a table, and so on. Bearing weight through my legs felt like a steel pole was being driven through my body with a sledgehammer. Somehow I had to get used to pain, serious, excruciating pain. And then in some strange way, I had to make friends with it and learn to welcome it. All the long hours of activating each muscle and nerve to try and get them working again, and then to try and get them to work in unison, to perform a simple action, was so tiring. But there it was, hard work and sheer determination. Every night I'd set the alarm to wake up on the hour to stretch for 15 minutes. I put weights on my fingers, and believe it or not, once a week I dropped a brick on my left foot, wishing to feel pain. And believe it or not, all my toenails went black and fell off. But eventually the feeling came back. When you don't feel pain, you're paralysed or dead. And when you can't feel it, it's what you most want. How much did I want to feel pain? Doctors would stick pins into my legs and arms and ask if I could feel pain. And I'd say, yes, I can feel it, wishing that I could feel it. And they were sticking it into thin air. They'd say, "Leigh, are you sure you can feel pain?" I'd say, yes, of course. But I was just hoping. It was my greatest wish to be able to feel again. I'd take a taxi to the gym and get the driver to drop me off further and further away, making myself walk longer and longer distances, trying to imprint the simplicity of the action into my brain. I looked like a bag of spuds dragging itself along the footpath. I offered myself as a guinea pig to neurophysios and travelled to Israel to be treated by a controversial practitioner who worked with patients injured by bomb blasts. For the last few years, I've been trialling Botox injected directly into muscle groups and continue to chase every little improvement in my body, whether it's in my riding, in track work, walking or thinking. I still use the gym twice a day in my efforts to maintain and further extend my abilities. Eventually I was well enough to gain back my independence, and Mum was able to get back to her own life, leaving me here at my house in Melbourne. She said, "I'm only a phone call away if you need me," but she had her life back with teaching and the farm and Dad in Buchan 4 hours away. I had learned to stand and walk. It wasn't pretty yet, but I was mobile, working tirelessly and endlessly on my physio and at the gym, and then taking a long, hard look at my diet, losing plenty of weight, helped me get out of that chair. I was on my way back. My life had been my love of horses and winning. I was always a very successful horse rider and competed in show jumping, bush racing and jumps racing. I was the first and only woman ever to win the Man from Snowy River race at Mansfield and the Cattleman's Cup. It was my dream come true when I started riding and competing in the steeplechase and hurdle races for the trainer Eric Musgrove. I made sure 6 mornings a week I rode 10 to 12 horses in track work for trainers at 2 tracks, Epsom and Caulfield. I then went to my 9-to-5 job. 1 or 2 weekends a month I'd travel 4 hours home to the farm to work for Dad, doing stock work or spraying blackberries. I'd sleep when it was dark and work when it was daylight. It took me 2 years to be able to cry after the accident. My grandmother, Nanny Craig, who'd bought me my first pony Glamour, died peacefully at 86. It released a flood of tears. For all the sadness, it felt like I was alive again. There'd been so much disappointment and negativity, and I'd hardened myself so much that to give in to the feeling of emotion was like another weight being lifted off my shoulders, another step towards becoming a so-called normal person. Our step number 3 is passion. Now to get some passion for my life back, my real life, my life with the horses and on the farm. New goals would need breaking down, and a whole new set of strategies to achieve them began to form in my mind. A, hopping on the horse. Maybe not quite as easy as it sounds. B, riding the horse. I'd learnt to do that at the same time as I'd learnt to walk in my first life, so I think, why not? C, realising I had to learn to ride all over again, right from the beginning. My head knew how to do it all of it, but my body had no idea. I badly needed some riding lessons and some help from riding for the disabled. D, going over the jumps. This is for me and a goal not to be shared just yet. So here we are, strengthening weak muscles, working on my balance and beginning to ride different horses in different conditions. Initially, it's all very controlled and orchestrated. In the yard, at riding school, and with riding for the disabled. Then I try riding at home on the farm with a friend. A little bit more freestyle, and even over the odd small jump over fallen branches in the bush. My first real jump was at Miranda Riding School on a beautiful black pony called Vegemite. It feels so easy and so right, and I just think, wow, I can do anything. There isn't an ounce of fear in me, not one, just pure elation, and that's passion. And next step isn't quite so much fun. It's step 4, grind and bloody hard work. One thing I had to get used to was wearing a riding hat. Growing up on the farm and doing stock work, I never fell off. It's a different story now. I pulled myself up onto a racehorse called Superior Way, who'd run 4th in the Melbourne Cup. He shied and I came off, getting my foot caught in the stirrup. That's not supposed to happen, I thought. Luckily, he just stopped. He was so good. But that's when I thought, I need to learn how to ride again and get riding lessons. Riding at home on the farm once a month on Peter Pan, the most beautiful pony I'd won Champion Pony Hack on at the Omeo show, just wasn't enough. Like speaking, walking and breathing, I was going to have to learn how to do things differently, learn them from scratch and do them better. After 10 years, Eric Musgrove, the trainer who I'd been riding for on the day of the fall, had to let me ride track work for him again. When I'd come out of the coma, Eric, I'd been riding for on the day of the fall, came into the hospital to visit. I said, promise me one thing, Eric. Give me a chance to ride track work for you again. Yes, no problems, Leigh, anything. A couple of years later, he added, but only if you can get the doctor's approval. I thought, you bastard. It took me 10 years to get Dr. Awicki to write that bloody approval. But when he did, I took it straight to Eric. Poor fellow, there was nothing he could do but say yes. A promise is a promise. Don't let anyone place any boundaries on you. Get out there and do what you love. Get your life back. Live it and love it for all it is worth, which will mean endless determination, effort and sheer hard work. People might want to question why I wanted to ride again after nearly being killed. Here's my explanation. When I was competing as a jockey, I also worked for Dad on the farm. I'd ride track work in Melbourne from 4 a.m. till 8, then work from 9 till 5 in an office, 5 days a week. I waitressed at the Old Dandy Inn from 6 till midnight, 3 nights a week as well. I was always tired from doing too much, but I loved it. I was living life. Because I loved what I was doing, riding horses and working on the farm, it wasn't hard work, it was a way of life. All the money I saved went into the farms, always improving them. And that's what I need to get back to. And the work ethic was in me. When I was in a coma, a lot of people said, "She'll be fine, she's just catching up on sleep." This is a big wide world with no manual to tell you which road it might be best to travel along. Many jockeys, friends and colleagues of mine have suffered injuries, but each of us manage our own range of issues in a very personal way. Some people close themselves off from the world and crave a quick fix, rely on drugs and struggle to maintain any drive or purpose. Other people become aware of how precious life is, and there's always someone worse off than what they are. At the end of each day, when you put your head on that pillow, you've got to know that you've put in your absolute best. Then you can move on to step 5, strategies and goals. I needed to devise a series of tiny steps that will start with breathing through the ever-present pain that would eventually lead me back to my horses, my farm, and being the winner I'd always needed to be. Every cell was damaged, but I had my thinking and planning firmly fixed, and my will to succeed would not be questioned by any doctor or therapist. I thought the only thing worse than pain would be to feel nothing at all, so I was willing to embrace the pain I felt with every new step in my recovery and accept this was all part of the journey I was embarking on. It was the road back to me. How badly did I want to get my world back? How far could I push myself? 23 years later, I'm still finding out. Just like farming, the steps to recovery need to be simple and structured. A, keep the land clear and the weeds sprayed. B, fertilise the land so the grass will grow to its full potential. C, ensure you carry exactly the right amount of stock. D, care for the stock. Simple, getting back to the things you love and desperately want isn't hard work, it's just a way of life you have to keep plugging away at. Everybody has choices. It was my choice to work hard and dream of winning jumps races. I've had a tremendous amount of help from Professor Barry Rowicki and the trainer Eric Musgrove. Dr. Rowicki said clearly Leigh never settled for second best. She's been a source of angst for many professionals. Leigh's constant pushing has been salutary for all of us. He said to me, "Leigh, what don't you understand about the word no?" I said, "I don't believe in it." That's when I worked myself so hard at the gym, I fell against the wall and dislocated my shoulder. I put it back in myself, went to the physio, took 2 Panadol and rode track work the next morning. Dr. Rowicki wasn't impressed, but I thought I was like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. Dr. Rowicki works on the edge with me, using clinical gait analysis to assist with a better pattern of walking. He's very tolerant and tends to push the boundaries with me because he accepts that I know my condition well. For instance, we've had a lot of success with Botox injections into the leg muscles based on the gait analysis, and he accepts that I manage my own pain without any intervention. He listens to my suggestions and reasons for them, even if he doesn't always agree. If I want a particular approach, he makes me tell him why and then makes his decision. Eric was very nervous before I rode for the first time after the accident. And when I showed I was capable, he was a lot more comfortable. Leigh was an exceptional rider before the accident. She used a lot of heart, drive and determination to get back on the horse. Eric was even more nervous when I went over the jumps. He made sure everything was safe and it wasn't above my capability at the time. And when I showed up I was capable and there was nothing to be concerned about, he was a lot more comfortable. Then you can move on to step number 6, drive and single-mindedness. To improve yourself, you need to steer a single-minded driven course along a seemingly endless and very bumpy road. To stay true to my goals, I needed to get into bed every night, knowing I'd given that 200% I'd promised myself. Then I'd wake up every hour for stretching and every 2 hours to practice the sounds of my words. I needed to be able to converse as eloquently as the next person and make Mum proud of all her efforts. My determination for improvement was not for one day, but for every second of every minute, every hour, every day, week, month, year upon year. Here's what I do now. 2, 3 or 4 times a week, I'm up at 4 a.m. I drive 97 kilometres to track work, where I ride 3 or 4 horses for roughly 2 hours. Then I drive that 97 kilometres back home in time to go to the gym. Then I'll have a myotherapy session, or physiotherapy, or see the Chinese doctor, or neurosurgeon, or eye specialist, or occupational therapist. Then I do a second session at the gym. I'll also walk the 3.4 kilometres around Dendy Park, concentrating on my pattern of walking. In the early days, I could close my eyes and drift off to sleep, or I could try and breathe and embrace the pain that was cutting me in two. I decided this pain would either kill me or make me better, and I refused to take painkillers. Mum had often accused me of being selfish and self-centred. Even before the accident, my life was all about me, myself and I. But maybe that was going to stand me in good stead, because nothing was going to come easy anymore. I was going to need that selfish streak and sheer bloody mindedness. I was now in the battle which has become my life, and the effort to put myself back together and be the best I can be for me. Apparently, nothing worthwhile comes easy. This approach won't make you popular, I can tell you. You've got to reach deeply into who you are and like who you are, because it can be lonely to take on the challenges that life can throw at you. You need to be aware of your impact on others as much as you can. And this is hard, but it can be learnt. The biggest thing I learned is that you cannot turn bitter, because if you do, it'll destroy you. I always tried to keep sight of the fact that I was alive, because I'll never ever forget coming out of that coma in a neck brace. Not being able to breathe or feel, walk, talk or do anything on my own. If you can't feel pain, that's the scariest thing of all. That brings us to our final step, number 7, place no boundaries on what you can achieve. Don't allow others to tell you what to do or pigeonhole you as limited in any way. Suffering catastrophic accidents gives you plenty of time to think, to assess yourself and really get to know a lot of things that your previous life didn't reveal. Only you will know how far you can go and how far you're willing to push yourself. You will need the assistance of exceptional medical experts and therapists who are leaders in their own fields. But catastrophic accidents cause injuries which are individual and have no prescribed treatments. As you push those boundaries around you, you should ask those experts to test new science and knowledge and join you in your journeys to places no one else has ever been. It all comes back to will, and no one can measure your will except yourself. I've always been positive. My parents and grandparents made me feel I could do whatever I wanted from a very early age. I was also told I couldn't be as good as the men because I wasn't as strong, which is true in terms of physical strength, but I could run rings around them with mental toughness. I always thought, bullshit, I'll find a way. Everyone has choices, and it was my choice to work hard and dream of winning jumps races. Owning my own farm and running it successfully. It was challenging and took a tremendous amount of planning and dedication. I've had to accept that I won't be a race jockey again. Apart from anything else, I'm 53 years old, but riding track work is a great compromise. I've learned to embrace pain and whatever life throws at me, because I, like all of you, only get one shot at life. I've been successful establishing a career as a speaker, sharing my story to inspire others to overcome their challenges and achieve their dreams. Everyone has challenges: career, family, relationships, mental health, not just catastrophic injuries, and my principles apply to everyone's challenges. So in summary, here are my 7 steps to overcoming anything. 1, belief and acceptance. 2, determination. 3, passion. 4, grind and hard work. 5, strategies and goals. 6, drive and single-mindedness. 7, place no boundaries on what you can achieve. And finally, try to be kind to those around you. Hold your frustrations and temper at bay when your expectations and hopes collide with brick walls, endless red tape and pointless meetings. Create your own happiness. Surround yourself with positive people, those that you like, those who are pleased to celebrate all of your successes and achievements. And never, ever give up. You can find a way. Thank you.
What an inspiring speaker. She rendered you to tears at some stage. So brave. Everyone should listen to this and get something out of it.
I was so inspired by hearing Leigh's talk. It was just such an amazing experience to listen to someone who's been through so much.
I just thought Leigh's talk was just such an amazing story of someone with so much determination and true grit to get through such dreadful injuries, and to think that she is now riding horses again. It was truly inspirational.
As far as the mountain cattlemen's, they would hold her in high esteem, and she puts it together so beautifully. Everyone should listen to Leigh.